Have you found yourself constantly praying and asking God for clarity, but you feel like you're never getting any answers? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you 4 things that you can do today so that you can finally get the breakthrough that you're praying for, so you can finally start moving forward. Because I know that right now you're tired of repeating the same year over and over. You're tired of getting the same results. There's a quote that goes, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result." So if you're tired of getting the same results, you have to change. And I know that right now it's scary to change. You have a lot of fear, like, what are people going to think of you? You're worried about rejection. But you have to understand something. There's a cost of not taking action. And are you willing to face the same year over and over because you're afraid of taking action? So I'm going to share something with you that I had to learn the hard way, because it took me a very long time to find myself and discover who I am and to face those fears. And so I have some stuff in here that I'm going to share with you. And I think it's going to be so powerful, and it's going to help you truly unlock who God has called you to be so that you can finally step into that man you want to be. And so for me personally, last year I was working at 7 Brew. I was a barista, one of my favorite jobs ever. And I felt like God was calling me to quit, to leave. And I felt like I had all the confirmation in the world. So I stepped away, and my wife and I went to California for some family, to help out some family. And so I had 6 months where I was not working a job. 6 months. Now, I was only in California for like a month, but 6 months where my wife was able to cover all the bills and everything. And then I was working part-time at a ranch a couple times a week, but we were able to survive. And let me tell you how frustrating it is to me when I look back on this. 6 months I had to build a business, and guess how much money I made? $5. $5 from a digital product. It took me 6 months to earn $5. And I am not even kidding. Think about how frustrating that is. And so if you're in the same spot where you're constantly consuming courses, content on YouTube, and you're still not taking action, let me share some of the things that I think you can start implementing today so that you can finally have your breakthrough. And so let me tell you something. Learn from my mistakes so that you don't continue the same thing that I did. So number 1, you need to upgrade your identity. Your identity is your thoughts, your beliefs, and your behaviors. Now, you have to think like the person who has what you want. So fast forward 6 to 12 months from now. What do you have? Who are you? How do you behave? What things are you doing every single day, day in and day out, every single week, so that you can get those results? You have to think from the person who already has what you want. So those thoughts need to become your thoughts. Your beliefs. What are the beliefs that you have about the promise that God has for you? What are the beliefs you have about yourself? Do you think you're worthy of having success? Do you think that you are capable of creating something and making something special from the gifts and talents and creativity that God has given you? You have to truly believe in your heart that it can happen, right? Jesus says that to the man who was asking Jesus to help his unbelief, and Jesus was like, anything is possible if you believe. You just need to believe, okay? You just need to believe. And then change your behaviors, right? This is where we come back to that quote. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You're doing the same things for the last couple of years and you're not getting results. So you need to change your behavior. If you have an idea of where you want to go, good on you. Now, align your actions with that. Where are you going? What do you need to do every single day? Get very clear on that. Because if you don't know where you're going, you are going to struggle. You are going to struggle. So the question is, who do you need to become in the next 6 months to get where you want to go. Define that person. Who do you need to become? What do you need to do? How do you need to believe? And what are those thoughts? Okay, number 2, you need to acknowledge the gap from your current reality to the promise. Okay, this is so important here because this is exactly what Abraham did. We see that Abraham acknowledged that he was like 100 years old and Sarah was barren, but he had an idea. The promise was he was going to become the father of many nations. So he acknowledged the gap from where he was to where he wanted to be. And so if you don't acknowledge the gap for yourself, it's going to be really hard to move forward because you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself about where you are, how can you be honest about where you want to be? Think about that. So where are you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially? Get very clear on where you are. Just be straight up. Be honest. No fluff. Just, I'm at rock bottom. I'm earning this much money. This really sucks. So just get very honest with yourself. And it's okay to state where you are because that's how you're going to help yourself move forward, okay? This helps you to gain clarity so that you can easily close the gap once you start defining your vision, which is our next step. Number 3, where do you want to go from here? Okay? This is so critical. And I made the mistake so many times. I wish that I would have gained more clarity when I had quit my job at 7 Brew to build my business. I had really an idea, but I didn't have real certainty around where I was going. I didn't have clarity on my business, my coaching business. I didn't have any clarity on my client, like my avatar. I didn't have really any clarity. And that is the reason I believe partly I've struggled because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know who I needed to become. Okay? So if you don't have a clue on where you're going, you're going to continue to repeat the same cycles over and over. And I know that you hear this a lot. Create a vision, you need to cast your vision. It sounds like cliche, but I'm telling you, this changes everything. Here's why. Let's get into the psychology behind this. If you don't know where you're going, but you just state to yourself, I want to build a business, I want to travel the world, your brain is going to be like, okay, what's the evidence? How am I going to get there? Your brain is going to ask those questions. And if your brain is not able to see in detail how you're going to get there, you are going to struggle because your brain is going to trigger this mechanism. It's the fight or flight. It's your nervous system. And it's going to trigger that this goal that you have is a threat. That is how you work. Your nervous system, if it's detecting something that you want as a threat, you are going to self-sabotage and procrastinate, and you're not going to achieve your goals. I promise you, this took me 5 years, almost 6 years to realize. I discovered this last year when I started to learn about psychology and human behavior. And I realized that all the goals that I was setting, they were fine. They were good goals, but I wasn't the person who could actually accomplish that goal. I didn't increase and expand my identity to become that person. And because of that, I procrastinated. I self-sabotaged and I never achieved those goals. So you have to get very clear so that your brain can see where you're going. And then it makes the follow-up a little more simpler. Okay. So I have something that you can do to easily define that on like your vision. So here's how you can define your map. Number 1, the destination. Where are you going? Okay, this is where you get very clear. Submit this to God, and like it says in Proverbs 16:3, commit your work, commit your business to the Lord, and your plans will be established. Commit everything to Him, okay? So where do you want to take your business? Where do you want to take your finances? Where do you want to be in your marriage? Like, get very clear in detail about where you're going. Okay, number 2 is the drive. What's your why? See, I struggled with this question for years. I've had people talk about this all the time in challenges and coaching programs like Define Your Why, and they have the 7 levels deep for your discovering your why. And I'm just like, I struggled with this so much. And then it wasn't until recently that I defined my why. I have it printed somewhere on a piece of paper and I read it. And this is the most life-changing thing that I've done because of the way I've created my why. Your why is designed to push you into action when you don't feel motivated, okay? It's designed to help you to emotionally charge yourself, because if you state in your why that if you don't accomplish your goal, you're gonna fail, your family's gonna fail, you're gonna struggle, you're gonna repeat the same systems and cycles all over again, this is going to emotionally charge you up to be like, nah, heck no, I ain't gonna repeat this over again. And you're gonna go after it, because your why needs to be stated in the identity of who you want to become, and then what happens if you don't do what you say. I promise you, this is game changing. And then the last thing is the drive. The last thing is design. You need to create systems to help you get to your destination. So let me give you this analogy. If you wanted to drive from New York to California, what do you need? You need a map. This is your destination, right? This is where you need to get clear on where you're going, correct? Right? You need to get clear on this map, okay? Okay, and if you didn't have a map, what would happen? You would drive aimlessly, going in the wrong direction, and eventually you're just gonna burn yourself out. This is where you are right now. You're constantly moving, but you're not making real progress. And it's frustrating. I know your pain. I know what it feels like. Now, the drive, what's your why? Why are you trying to drive from New York to California? Because if you don't have a strong enough why and you don't have a map, you're gonna eventually give up. Just like if you didn't have a strong vision for your life and you didn't have a strong why, you're eventually going to give up because you don't see the value in where you're going. You're just aimlessly walking. You're in constant motion, but you're not making real progress. Okay, and then the last thing, the design. These are the systems in which you use to get from New York to California. Okay, those systems like what? Getting gas, stopping for food, stopping at a hotel. Okay, those systems make getting to California inevitable. Do you see what I'm saying now? Each step gets you closer to the end result, gets you closer to the vision. So you gotta define these 3 things: the destination, the drive, and the design. Your life needs systems, okay? You need systems in place to help you reach your goal. Let me give you one more example really quickly. Let's say, for example, you wanted to get shredded and you wanna lose like 5 to 10 pounds so that you can get to like 10% body fat, okay? What is your system? What systems do you need in place? Number 1, you need to lift at least 3 to 4 times a week. Okay, you need to eat high protein whole foods. You need to drink lots of water, maybe add some creatine. Okay, you need to reduce sugar and junk food. And then maybe you're getting in your daily steps. Okay, those systems make getting the result inevitable. Even if it takes 6 months or a year, regardless, this is the principle of sowing and reaping. You will reap what you sow, okay? I think I've said enough. I think you understand what I'm saying now. You got to create your systems to get you where you want to go. Your systems are your daily and weekly inputs. Number 4, align your actions. This is the last thing you need to do, okay? Okay, what do you need to do every single day and every single week, okay, to get to your destination? This is coming back to your systems again. What do you need to do? See, the problem is you may be stopped by fear because you're not taking action, okay? Taking action is going to crush the fears that you have. But the longer that you wait on God, the longer that you think about it, the more planning you do, the longer that you pray, you're killing your confidence. You're not going to gain confidence by waiting on God. You're not going to gain confidence because you're praying for it. God will give you some direction. You can gain some clarity by planning and creating your destination, the drive, and the design. But if you're not taking action, you're never going to uncover more than what's at the surface. Let me give you an example. I was so determined to not do market research. I was so determined to just stick to my own plan and inside my own bubble when building my business for the last 6 months. And then I finally decided it's time to do market research. It's time to get very clear on what I'm doing, who I'm serving, how I'm serving, and if there is a market for what I want to do to help people. So I started doing market research. I started texting the guys in my circle and saying, hey man, I'm doing market research. I'm trying to create a program for men, and can I interview you? And boom, I had some interviews. And guess what? I gained so much clarity just from the 2 people I interviewed, and I have more people in line. And so what I'm saying is I gained more clarity taking action and reaching out, getting uncomfortable, than I did planning. Planning could never do what action does, okay? Because I took action and because I started those interviews, I was able to see a pattern amongst the men who are struggling and what their problems are. Okay, so the same thing goes for you. You need to take action. You already know what you need to do. You just need to do it, okay? Action creates clarity. Action builds your confidence. You cannot have confidence and then take action, okay? So if you're tired of being where you are right now, it's time to step forward. It's time to face those fears. I know it's scary. I know it's there's a lot of things that come up, right? You're worried about what people think about you. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? Because if you want to be the man, the head of your household, you want to be a provider, you want to be someone who has, who creates and builds generational wealth, financial freedom for your family, you want to have trust where your family can depend on you, that man, he's decisive. He takes action. He faces his fears every single day. And I know you have it in you. Now you just need to execute. Follow these points we talked about today. Let me give you a little recap. Upgrade your identity. Acknowledge the gap from your current reality to the promise. Okay, what is the promise God put on your heart? Okay, number 3, where do you want to go from here? Okay, where are you headed? This is where you need to define your map, your destination, the drive, and the design. And then align your actions. Face your fears, okay? You have to face your fears if you want to get from where you are to where you want to go. Listen, I have a community of about 80 or so people on my email list. I send out daily emails that encourage, inspire, and help you to become the man that you need to be so you can fully step into your purpose, into that business you want to build with confidence, trusting yourself by facing your fears and eliminating self-doubt. So if that is you, if that resonates with you, join the email list down in there's a link down in the description. Click that. I'd love to have you part of the community. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.